And hello, welcome to the Social Justice Forum. I am your host, Daren Jaime. We thank you for joining us. Now, if you're asking the question, what is this show all about? We bring you a discussion that is providing a deeper understanding of the issues and inequities that so many people face. From systemic inequalities to pressing social problems, our guests provide multiple perspectives as well as insights, helping us better understand and address these challenges. We invite you to stay connected to us. The Social Justice Forum starts now. And we are back, and thank you for joining us. Foundation 44 is an organization that is dedicated to fostering a brighter future for the underserved. Their mission is to empower young people and their families, driving transformative shifts in mindset and motivating them to enhance their lives. Joining us is the founder and president of Foundation 44, the legacy of Floyd Little, NFL Hall of Famer DeBorah Little joins us now. And we thank you for joining us, DeBorah.
Thank you so much for having me.
Glad to have you sharing with us. And so I want to take the time and say that, I've known you for a while now, and knowing you to be that person that's always been innovative and boots on the ground. You've taken the legacy of Floyd, who's your husband, and taken it and gone on to have Foundation 44. So for somebody who may not be so familiar, please walk us through a little bit about Foundation 44 and how it got started.
Thank you. Thank you so very much again for this opportunity. I'm very happy to share more information about Foundation 44. On January the 1st, 2021, the love of my life, Floyd Little, passed away from cancer. And for the next about 2 years, I just was upside down and inside out, and I just didn't know what to do with my life because we did everything together. So I just resorted to what I do in my life, and that is sit still, get very, very quiet, pray, and patiently listen for the Lord's words in my life in terms of what do I do now? And that was my question. What do I do now? How do I live my life going forward? And so what I heard was to give back and give abundantly. And the way to do that was to get back into life and to get back into doing what I always did. I was an entrepreneur before that, a speaker, a trainer, a coach, and an author. And now it was time to put aside for profit and start going forward and talking more about Floyd Little, the character of the man, his morals, his values, his beliefs, and all that he represented in my life as well as in the lives of so many others who he met and touched. And that's how Foundation 44 got started. There were a lot of different names coming up. I knew I was going to have to do things in a different way, and that's why it is nonprofit. And just one day, it just came to me. It's not Floyd and DeBorah Little, and it's not any of the other names I was coming up with. It was all about Floyd Little and his legacy and going forward teaching a lot of the principles that he also taught. He loved working with youth, college students, high school students, community kids. And so that was the beginning of Foundation 44, the legacy of Floyd Little, that literally, I believe, the Lord planted in my thoughts and planted in my heart. This is the path for my future.
And here you are with Foundation 44, and it's really launched out to be such a tremendous gift to so many people, particularly for the fact that, your programs and the way that they're structured, very intentional and, with some things in mind. Talk to us a little bit about some of the programs that you have in Foundation 44, how they've actually been able to impact people.
Okay, happily. So I'll start by saying that Floyd's number is 44. It was his number at Syracuse University. It was his number with the Denver Broncos. And so, of course, 44 was one of our favorite numbers. Floyd's birthday is also on the 4th of July. And so I'm just running with the number 4. And everything that I do so far with Foundation 44 is in 4. So we have 4 programs. The first program is called the Personal and Educational Development Program. It is a program that runs during a school year, and I work with middle and high school students, and I really work to inspire their minds so that we can help them change their lives for the better. I go into the high school and the middle schools every other week. The students come up with a project that is their project that they're going to work on, and we cultivate their skills in leadership and team building, critical thinking, each one teach one and pay it forward, and several different elements that really, really speak into the lives of the students. And my preference is to work with students who are challenged in their grade and their attendance and just getting along and getting through school. And so I am happy to say that I will be working in the Syracuse City School District. I just wrapped up 2 weeks of meeting with principals and explaining the program, and we will get started in the month of October. The second program is called the Parent Educational Empowerment Program. And in this program, I educate parents about how the education system works, everything from where the funding comes from and how it is handed down from the state to the city and then to the school district. And then also why it is imperative that they are very much interested and involved in their students' education. I also work with them on what I call the Believe series by excavating their own memories about their childhood and things that they were told about them that they start believing, and particularly the negative stuff. And we want to get that out of people's memories and out of their belief systems and replace it with the positive and the best that they can believe about themselves, so that they're also speaking that life into the life of their children, who I may also be working with. The third program is called the Believers Retreat. I have a retreat at my home every year in January. When Floyd was here, he would not leave the house until the last woman showed up at the home. We do a weekend retreat from Thursday to Sunday, and it's always been about what are your goals for this year? What did you not accomplish last year? And what are you doing going forward? When these 7 women leave my home, they go out and we stay in touch throughout the year. And they've accomplished some great things as a result of the camaraderie that we have when we come together. Well, I'm repeating that program under Foundation 44. It's called the Little Sisters Believers Retreat. So I work with young ladies who are ages like 14 to 16, and we do exactly the same thing. And my sisters from around the country who come to my home in January will now come to my home in around August, September, just as the school year is starting. And they will serve as the mentors and the facilitators for the Little Sisters Believers Retreat, where we do exactly the same thing. We prepare them for their education and help them with a vision for their future, and just really help them in every way that we can. And then the final program, the fourth program, is called The Legacy of Our Legends, LOL. I work with Pro Football Hall of Fame widows to help them get back out there and become relevant and tell the stories of their legends before, during, and after the NFL. When you are the spouse and your spouse passes away, your life completely changes. There are no longer invitations that come to me for Floyd, because Floyd is gone. So I don't get invited to things with the Broncos. The Hall of Fame does invite us back every year, but then all those other opportunities throughout the year, we just don't get invited to. Your life just changes dramatically in social, financial, emotional, in every way. And so I will be booking Pro Football Hall of Fame widows to get back out on the speaker circuit as speakers, as panelists, to make appearances, and really to talk about the legacy of their legends, the man, the character of the man, his morals, his values, and what life is like with them before, during, and after the NFL, but then also when they pass away, what our lives are like now, and help prepare wives or significant others for what to prepare for if you do survive your spouse. Everything from estate planning, financial issues, insurances, and as much as we can to prepare them. So those are the 4 programs under Foundation 44. Right now, the 2 that have legs under them that are standing up are the Personal and Educational Development Program for students in high school and middle school, and the Parents Educational Empowerment Program. I'll also begin working with some parents here in the Syracuse area in the middle of October.
Talk to me a little bit about this here, because as you talk about the work that you're doing, Obviously, it's some very intentional work, and it's some work that really impacts young people. Having a husband that was a pro football player, Syracuse University Hall of Fame, Denver Broncos NFL Hall of Fame, all of these things, right? And this great history that's there. How much of that helps in terms of being a credible messenger, if you will, in a school system when you got young people sometimes and attention span to really lock it in and connect it with them? How much does Floyd's story, your story, really create a bridge for your being able to really do what you do from the foundation's perspective?
Well, I will be telling all kinds of stories about Floyd and my history. Here's an example. When I go in and I'm meeting with students, I want to make sure that they know that Floyd Little, Pro Football Hall of Famer, author, speaker, two-time honorary doctorate recipient, that he started out the fifth of six children in a single parent household because his dad passed away when he was seven. So all of the statistics were against him, right? Like he was not supposed to grow up and be successful because he was poor. He lived in the projects. He was the youngest of, or the fifth of six with a single parent. He was a troubled young kid. He got in a lot of trouble. He had challenges in reading and in writing, and a lot of people did not believe in him. And they were always telling him he wasn't fast enough, he wasn't strong enough, he didn't have the grades. Even his high school guidance counselor told him that no school is going to recruit you because you don't have the grades. And so you need to start looking into maybe being a janitor or some other kind of menial job, right? Not that there's anything wrong with being a janitor, but they just really were not believing in him. So one of the things that Floyd always talked about when he was mentoring and or speaking is don't listen to the naysayers, because he had plenty of those. And Floyd used those naysayers and the words that they were using against him as fuel. They fueled him. They gave him fire to work harder and harder to prove them wrong. And what happened is there was a teacher that believed in him. He got him back into school because Floyd got kicked out of school. But the teacher saw him, saw his potential, helped him get back into school. He went to Bordentown Military Academy to learn discipline and to get his grades up. And then he had like 57 scholarship offers to come to college. I will be telling the story of how Floyd overcame being troubled, being low income, struggling, hearing a lot of people telling him what he could not do, and how he overcame all of that to go on to greatness. And that story is pretty much the same as mine. I'm the youngest of my mom's six children. My parents were married, but my dad was hardly ever around. I lived in the housing projects, and for the most part, my siblings raised me according to my mom's rules in the house because mom was working two, three jobs to keep us off of public assistance and to just help the ends meet in our home. And for me, oftentimes when people were telling me what I couldn't do or what I couldn't believe, I kind of believed some of that junk, right? But then I had to overcome it. I was very fortunate to have siblings who believed in me. And then I got involved in so many of the programs that were offered through social programming, right? Like OCEDA, where you get a job over the summer and then they pay you, and I'm learning secretarial skills, or just getting involved in different programs that got me off of the streets and into camps over the weekend, or camp for the week. And all these programs that just really helped me to improve my network, improve my knowledge, improve my skill, and got me invested in myself and helped me to believe in myself. And so a lot of these stories, and that's just one story from Floyd's history and one story from my history, that led to both of us being able to leave our home and achieve great things. Floyd would always talk with the students at Syracuse University or at Denver University, or even in a community. He went into Southwest Community Center and just other areas here in the community and always poured his heart out into them and gave them their messages. So I will be sharing those messages, because when he passed away and I went into his office, he had all kinds of notes, all kinds of speeches that he had written to inspire people. And I'm using those notes. I am using his foundational message that I will be sharing with students, as well as showing the videos, for example, of one of the best Hall of Fame speeches that there is, and that's Floyd Little's Hall of Fame speech from 2010. So I'm going in, I'm reaching in to grab hearts, and I'm telling my truth, and that I just sit still, I get quiet, and I listen to the Lord's voice, because he's always speaking. And when it's good, and it's for the betterment of someone else, for you to go out and serve, then when I follow that, then I get that heart and I massage that heart and I look into their eyes and tell them how much Floyd believes in them, how much I believe in them, how much the educational system believes in them. And greatness lives within each and every one of them. Foundational message that Floyd always shared. And so, yes, you can. And we're going to watch you perform and be great. So, just bringing the best that we have to offer from me and all the stories that Floyd would tell. And I'll be repeating that into the lives of the youth in the school district.
Amazing work. Now, for somebody who wants to find out a little bit more about the foundation, tap in, and possibly maybe, hear you speak, how do they go about doing that?
Please visit foundation44.org. There is a website. Every program that I mentioned, the 4 programs that I mentioned, are on that website. There's a little blurb that tells you about each one. And if you'd like to support the mission and the work that we're doing, there's even a donate button where you can go in and donate $44, maybe $144, maybe. I really love things that are happening in the 44s. And then there's also my information on there. If you're interested in learning more, you can contact me directly. And you might be, soon I'll be posting some of the messages that I have been delivering, talking about Floyd and also talking about Foundation 44, but also talking about how we are great and that greatness does live within us. And we can achieve whatever it is that we dream of when we believe the best about ourselves. So visit foundation44.org.
All righty. DeBorah Little, we have to leave it there. If you've just joined us, been talking with DeBorah Little. She is the widow of NFL Hall of Famer Floyd Little, played for the Denver Broncos, star there, and then also Syracuse University. Thank you so much for being with us, DeBorah, and glad to have you. Congratulations on the great work you're doing.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I love you, brother, and thanks for the good work that you're doing.
Thank you much. We'll talk soon.
Yeah,
All
God
righty.
bless.
Yes. So, look, we're taking a quick break. We'll be back with more right after this. And welcome back. Young Invincibles work tirelessly to amplify the voices of the younger generation, ensuring that they not only participate fully in the democratic process, but also have the opportunities necessary to reach their highest potential. Sharing with us now, we've got the Northeast Regional Director of Young Invincibles, Sean Miller. And Sean, good to have you with us.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Hey, thanks a lot for sharing with us. And listen, when we talk about what's happening today. Obviously, the news of the day is, we've got a debate that's taking place, that's just taking place. Uh, a lot of political engagement is going on right now. The push for people to get out and vote, but yet and still to engage young people in the political process, and then on as a part of what you do. Share with us a little bit about this here, because you're trying to amplify the voice of young adults here.
Yeah, that's right. So the key is ensuring that young adults in our generations are actively engaged and that we're meeting them where they're at. And so we have to connect with young adults in a variety of ways in different capacities and coming to them in places that they already exist. Further, reinforcing that their voice matters and young adults, we have power. They have power, we have power, and it's critical to continually ensuring that they're actively engaged. Especially because young people are a vastly underrepresented constituency in politics, right? But there are a lot of ways that we can and we are fighting for representation. And as the late, great Shirley Chisholm said, when they don't give us a seat at the table, we have to bring a folding chair. But we are working to carve out permanent seats for young adults at every table of power.
And when we talk about bringing your own seat to the table, that's exactly what you've done and are aiming to do. Really put somebody there, be engaged, be involved in this process, and you're equally as important and equally a part of it. That's part of the message that you're sharing with young adults, to really be able to do that. Talk to me about the receptivity right now, because honestly, in this heightened partisan political environment, you got a lot of millennials who are saying, "Listen, I'm checked out. I'll do my vote, but I really, when it comes to being politically engaged, checked out." Talk to me about what you're seeing with boots on the ground as far as young adults and political engagement.
Yeah, so to your point, a lot of people are very frustrated and have been for a long time because of the lack of access for young adults to microphones, to places where they can amplify their voices, amplify their concerns, see their issues represented in the debate stage, in the political process, and see ourselves, right, in the halls of power. Um, and so a lot of people are very frustrated, but there's also a lot of civic engagement that's happening right now. A lot of people are becoming much more engaged, and a lot of folks are coming of voting age for the first time and very excited to cast their ballot. A lot of folks in our programs, right, are learning about how they can impact the political process, not just at the ballot box, but all the time in between elections, right? There's a lot of work, there's a lot of organizing that we can do. And part of our work here at Young Invincibles is to empower young folks and educate them about the ways in which they can impact the political process and amplify their voices at every level of government, right? So we work at the city level, we work at the state level, we work at the federal level. We work with a lot of students on campus that may be part of their student government. So there's a lot of levels at which we can impact that process and teach young folks that, hey, your voice has power. And the more you exercise that power, the easier it's going to become.
How do you go about getting somebody to get from that local level to really drive them towards social change? I mean, there's some work that goes on. Take us behind the scenes, because that's a process all by itself. We see a lot of people sometimes emerge on the social scene, but the reality is there's so much back work that happens on the local side. Talk to us about that local push to really get people out there.
Absolutely. One of the things that we do is run something called the Young Advocates Program. And this is a paid leadership program developed by Young Invincibles. So we work with our regional offices in Texas, California, Colorado, Illinois, here in New York as well, and at the national level to strengthen the voices of young people on our issue areas across the country. And this program is a great opportunity for young folks ages 18 to 34 to develop skills and gain experience in core functions of advocacy and public policy work as they build, overall professional skills as well. So throughout the program, we help train young folks on how to effectively advocate and be a leader. That means being a leader on their campus, right? That means advocating on policies that are affecting them right now. We also engage them in policy work, giving them opportunities to talk with elected officials, to testify before the legislature, to raise concerns on issues that they care about. And advocates leave the program as an expert and take these skills into their career and their educational journey And we hope to continue working with young adults and providing them with opportunities to share their story. And long term, we're empowering not just the leaders of tomorrow, right? You hear a lot of people say young folks are the future, but we're also the present. We're also, the now. And there's a lot of things that are going on now. And there's a lot of issues that we're working to combat right now. And through our Young Advocates program and our broader campaigns that we work on, that the Young Advocates help lead, we really empower them to get involved in these campaigns, to put boots on the ground, to organize, to get their friends involved. Everything from social media campaigns to working on legislation or helping to propose a new idea to city council. So there's a lot of different ways young folks can get involved. And our Young Advocates program is one of our main pipelines that we try to amplify young folks, empower them, and give them the tools to be a leader in their own communities and campuses.
One of the things that drives this is there has to be this sense of belonging. I mean, before you can get somebody to get to a place of being socially active, politically active, civically engaged, there has to be this cultivation of feeling like you belong, understanding your place, understanding that. Take me into the back room again. How are you going about, I should say, doing this? Because this is really the foundational crux for all this other stuff.
Yeah, great question. Belonging is really key, and collaboration and community are actually two of our values here at Young Invincibles and cornerstones of our work. So to create a safe and brave space, as we like to call it, where students can be vulnerable and open to reframing how we work. So we take a step back, we listen to young adults. We want them to know that they have the floor and they are leaders, right? We respect their voice, we respect their experiences, we respect their opinion. They are experts, right, in this work. They're experts on their experience and what's going on campus. As we work with diverse communities and work collaboratively, we also adopt an equity-based approach to ensure that we have community agreements that allow young folks to be comfortable and to be confident sharing, especially because so many of the folks that we work with in our programs are from very diverse backgrounds, right? New York City is one of the most diverse places in the country. So we have students who speak various different languages, who are coming from all over the world. The vast majority of them are coming from low-income backgrounds. The vast majority are actually women of color in our programs. So we want to make sure that everyone feels that sense of belonging, that everyone feels that sense of you're here and we want you to be here. And we want to hear your voice. We want to hear your opinion. But we also have to make sure that everyone's respecting everyone else's voice and opinion. And having those community agreements, right, is one key way that we do that. And to create a sense of belonging and mutual agreement, it takes time. You have to build trust. It's not immediately given when they enter the program. And so, we learn and we grow with each new cohort that we have every semester. We get to know them a lot. We also often share our own stories, right? I'm someone that has $65,000 worth of student loan debt, right? I'm in this fight because it impacts me too. And I think the more that we're able to open up and, meet them where they are, they see and respect that. But really, it takes a lot of effort, a lot of intentionality to make sure that everyone feels comfortable being vulnerable and sharing their story.
Yeah, $65,000. I felt that, bro. I'm praying for you there. Talk to me about this conversation here. That in order to affect change, you definitely need the partnership of government, local government, local government, national government. So when we talk about city, state, national government, forging those partnerships are very critical to get your ball across the finish line. What's it been like for you in terms of that partnership, and how receptive has government been to the plight of young adults?
Yeah, so I'll be honest, it's been tough. As I mentioned before, young adults are a underrepresented constituency, and we're not automatically given a seat at the table a lot of the time, right? There are some systemic ways that we have some representation built in, such as for student government, right? But the ability to participate in student government on campus, we recognize that that's also a privilege that a lot of students who are struggling with basic needs, with managing being a student and being a parent or having a full-time or part-time job, it's difficult. So we do work a lot with every level of government. At the city level, we partner with the city council, and we've had some great receptivity there, especially working with the New York City Higher Education Committee. We regularly testify before the New York City Council there and uplift student voices. At the state level, we do a lot of work with the state legislature, from members of the assembly to members of the Senate. In terms of local city government, it's been, I'll be honest, it's been tough working with this mayoral administration. There haven't been a lot of natural opportunities to partner. We're always looking for more. And then at the gubernatorial level, we've recently forged some inroads and working with them on a couple key issues that are impacting young folks, such as access to financial aid and FAFSA support, especially since this is the first year that New York's going to have this new universal FAFSA policy that we were very proud to help pass. And then at the federal level, same thing. We're always working to build and strengthen our relationships with members of Congress. There's a couple that we have great relationships with and work with and are able to help introduce bills in the House and occasionally in the Senate on. And then we also do work directly with the Biden-Harris administration, especially on the student loan debt front. We've been leading that charge in coalition with a number of other incredible national partners and working on a number of issues that are just key to economic opportunity for young folks. So we have worked really hard to build and cultivate partnerships with elected officials and administrations at every level of government, but there's a lot more work to be done. Young folks and young voices are, as I mentioned, regularly not thought of as a top priority, right? There's this misconception that young folks don't turn out to the polls, and that because of that we don't have as much political power. But a lot of our work is dispelling that myth, right? Young folks actually are voting at much higher rates than they ever have in history. And we're expecting that to be the case for this upcoming presidential election as well.
Yeah, when you talk about election, let's talk about Washington. If you go down to Washington, D.C. right now, I guarantee you that if you go into 75 to 80% of congressmen as well as senators, they are filled with young staffers. I mean, a lot of times people think that, the old heads, if you will, they're young staffers that are actually running and really leading government. And so the misconceptions out there, and you got to kind of like do the work to kind of like change the narrative. But do you feel like the narrative is changing now in terms of young adults, in terms of the activism, because that narrative hasn't always been well received?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say it's a slow shift, right? We do have some levels of representation, especially in Congress. We look at people like Maxwell Frost, who's spoken at a student debt cancellation rally in front of the Supreme Court that we helped to organize last year, right? So we do have few and far between examples like this. But as you mentioned, a lot of staffers for members of the U.S. Senate, members of the House of Representatives, are young folks, right, who are also experiencing issues that other young folks do, right? Cost of living in DC is very high. Cost of living here in New York City for people who are part of the local offices of members of Congress is extremely high, right? So we have people here who are dealing with the same issues that young adults in our programs who are students are dealing with, such as the incredibly high cost of housing, right? A hostile housing market here is one of the biggest barriers to economic security and the ability to create generational wealth. And so, we find that when we do meet with them, we were actually just there last week meeting with members of Congress. They're very receptive. A lot of them have experienced very similar experiences. And they want to hear us out. They know that what our students and what our young folks are saying is true because they've also, a lot of the time been there. And when they haven't, right, then that's when we get to work doing some education and sharing young adult stories, because those stories really move the needle far better than any statistic or research ever can. And don't get me wrong, statistics and research is absolutely necessary to back up the claims and the policies that we're pushing for. But it's the stories of young adults, it's the lived experiences that they share that change hearts and that change minds and that help us to create the policies that we want to see and help young folks to advocate for those policies in a very passionate, very genuine way.
Yeah. As we wind down on our time together, I got to get this in. What are some of the things that we should be paying attention to? Legislation we should be keeping our eyes out for that are, germane to you and that the public should know.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a lot that we're working on here in New York City right now. A couple top priority items that I'll let you know that we're working on. So in terms of higher education, one of the big things that we're working towards is called a New Deal for CUNY. And this is a package of legislation which would actually make the entire CUNY system free. We want to see free, high quality education, public education, free, high quality public education for all students who want it. The New Deal for CUNY is a piece of legislation that would make that happen. CUNY used to be free. Back in the 60s and 70s, it was only actually once they started admitting students of color that they started charging tuition. And so we do a lot of educating about that. The New Deal for CUNY would also help to greatly increase the amount of faculty and counselors, from academic to mental health counselors, across all 25 CUNY schools, which would be huge. Other than that, we're working on a lot of opportunities for students to gain college credit in high school for things like dual enrollment programs or early college programs. We're working on banning legacy admissions here in New York State, right? Especially after affirmative action was overturned. We want to make sure that white and wealthy students don't have an automatic advantage over, their middle class or low income peers, especially peers of color that don't have that legacy of going to oftentimes elite and Ivy League schools. In terms of higher education, we're also working in a lot of ways on increasing financial aid here in New York. We've had some great wins on the TAP program this past year, and we want to continue building on that. And then in terms of healthcare, there's a lot of ways that we're working to expand access to young adults, to young folks and families who are immigrants and going through all different parts of the immigration or asylum seeking process. That's a really key way to make sure that healthcare is a right and not a privilege for folks here in New York State. And then workforce development is top for us, right? So we want to see more jobs. We want to see more paid internships, especially for young folks at CUNY schools, at SUNY schools, at private colleges and universities. And so we're working with a lot of partners to make sure that we can increase those seats, but also do so in a way that's equitable and make sure that students with the least access to those key workforce opportunities, that key experience on that resume, or on their skill set, right, is going to be granted to the students who need it most and historically haven't had that opportunity.
Yeah. Sean Miller, we got to leave it there. Young Invincibles. I got to make sure that I say this, though, because I don't want our viewers to just skim past this. When you talk about education, you talk about the CUNY school system. He brought it up. I'll say it again. CUNY was free. It was free to attend until black students were admitted. And when black students were admitted, that's when tuition started hitting CUNY. That's a fact. Check the facts. Sean, thanks for double bringing that back up for me. And it's a fact that we really need to look at and see how we can get back to free education all around. Thanks, brother.
Absolutely. It's been my pleasure.
All right, we'll talk soon.
All right, take care.
All right, now, taking a quick break. Be back more right after this.
19.7% of Bronxites currently experience food insecurity. Meanwhile, instead of these nice, colorful foods, this is the best food that they have access to. If this sounds like you, there are a bunch of resources to get healthy food for free or cheap. If you want to help, you might consider donating or volunteering in one of these places. Community fridges like this one are all over the city, and allow New Yorkers to conveniently donate extra food to people who might need it. Go to this link and find your nearest one. Food banks and pop-up events like these provide millions of healthy meals to families in need. These organizations are distributing meals to Bronxites as we speak, and are always accepting donations and volunteers.
And we're back. New regulations are set to transform how real estate professionals operate. These changes, the largest in over a generation, they can reshape the home buying and selling process fundamentally. Joining me now, we've got Realtor Kevin Grimes Sr., Mortgage Lender Officer Corey Anglin, and Attorney Mandeep Kaur. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
All righty.
Thank you.
I'll start with you. First of all, happy birthday. We're going to say that. For those who don't know, as Dave, this shows his birthday. So thank you for spending it with me.
I appreciate you.
Thank you. Talk to me a little about the real estate market changing.
I wouldn't even look at it as necessarily changing. I would just say just enhancement to the current practices that we're doing. It's always been about choice and communication. So I think we're just honing down and zoning into that more to make sure that we're communicating effectively to our clients and just making sure that we're all on the same page moving forward to get the job done.
Right. Mandeep, you work with clients all the time. Talk to us a little bit about the work that you do.
I've been a real estate attorney for the last 22 years, so I have seen the market go up, come down, and everything in between. And I'd like to say with what he's saying, even with the new regulations, what we're basically seeing is anyone who's been in the game who understands it, it can still continue to go in the favor of buyers, especially in our communities.
Would you say you've seen the market up, seen it go down? How do you describe it now?
Crazy.
Right.
It's true. After the market crashed in 2008, I went from having a very lucrative job to running around and doing notaries for $100 to then making so much money that I didn't know what to do with it to now being like, I just need a break.
Right.
You know, the market goes up and down, and I think what most of our clients need to recognize is it doesn't matter where the market is going. You're always going to want to buy something because that's the biggest asset that you can have for yourself.
Yeah. Corey, talk a little bit about the work you do.
So my primary role as a banker is to help our clients transition from renting to owning. And, you know, my job is to sit with them, identify their needs. We discuss credit, we discuss loan programs, we discuss down payment assistance if we can. You know, being a Bronx native, born and raised in the Bronx, I mean, I know how important housing is in our market,
Right.
Especially as it pertains to individuals of color. And so what I try to do is listen much more than I speak, ask pointed questions, identify, you know, where you want to be today, what are your financial goals tomorrow, and lay out, you know, a list of financial products and options that can help our clients make the right choice.
Yeah, it's a little touchy. I'm being nice here when I say it's a little touchy out there in terms of home ownership, and particularly for communities of color, given the fact that when we're looking at this housing crisis that we have, and not even a housing crisis, just housing rates. How have you been able to navigate that?
Well, I think it's the supply and demand equation. So right now we're in a scenario where there's much more demand for housing as in terms of lack of inventory, but that demand is bringing buyers to the table, and it allows us to have honest conversations, right? Because, for example, I provide financing for a variety of different property types: cooperatives, townhomes, condominiums, single families, multifamilies. So maybe a co-op is not for you. Maybe a townhouse is not for you. Maybe we can explore the benefits of single family. Maybe multifamily housing, where we can take rental income and take 75% of that rental income and add it to your income to help you qualify. So it's identifying the needs and the goals of our community, having the right questions, asking the right questions rather, and making sure that I present them with a slew of options so that they can make an informed decision.
Mandeep, let me come your way and talk about the mistakes that people make. Because I know you see some common threads as an attorney. What are some of the things that you see coming across your desk that you just like, again?
Well, a lot has to do with our realtor friends over here who are not very educated.
Right.
And he's not one. I wouldn't be here if it was. But to sort of veer off what he's saying, there's a lot of clients that I have in our community that are like, I don't have the down payment, I don't have the money, so I'm not buying anything. I, on the other hand, say, go buy an apartment. Be the first-time home buyer of anything. And they stop themselves from actually wanting to buy something because they don't think they have the money available to purchase stuff. So they'll say, I don't want to live in a co-op. What's wrong with living in a co-op? Because you could sell that for a profit and buy a house tomorrow. Right. So that's one of the things. I have a lot of discouraged clients that do come in. But with the ones that do come in, it's being realistic with what you can afford. Mm-hmm. That is a huge problem that I have noticed. They could have $10,000 in their bank account, but they're looking at stuff that is above their means and not talking to someone like Corey who could say, listen, we have grants we can offer. We have programs that are catered towards certain zip codes that will benefit you. So you can use that $10,000 to ultimately create wealth for yourself by owning real estate. Right. So, and not being honest.
Oh, we'll come back and talk to you a little bit about that in a minute, Corey, about the grants and the programs. I think it's so beneficial today. But for yourself as well, you know, you got people coming and they say, listen, I want to buy, I want to purchase. Are they saying, I want to buy, I want to purchase?
Yeah, absolutely. And some are saying, the ones that aren't saying that, it's all in the conversations, right? So first I ask them some qualifying questions. I see where they're at. And then I put them in contact with my lender, right? I let them speak to Corey, and then we break down what exactly is right for them. And if it's not right for them, one thing I love about my team is we're going to help you now. We're going to help you with the situation you're in now for the long term. There's been people that I've spoke to 2 or 3 years ago that we've closed on this year, right? And that's the greatness of the team that I work with is we're going to follow up with you. We're going to give you the right information and guide you to the finish line. It might not be now, but down the line.
And relationship matters. I mean, obviously, to have that relationship, and then for them to have the relationship with you to say, listen, you know, ride with us through. We're not going to do this on the front end right now, but by the time we get on the back end and get you correct, we'll get you into something that you can actually have your name on.
Yeah, and as life is life, then check in with us. I'm going to check in with them and see where you're going, how you're going towards reaching those goals to make sure you can get to the finish line.
Corey, we talked about this a few seconds ago because when you talk about just being that guy, obviously you say no a lot, right? You say yes a lot, but yes happens sometimes and people don't even expect it because there's some other things out there. Grants, opportunities, first-time home buyers. Can you just give people a little bit of an overview as to possibly what's even out there? Because there could be somebody saying, listen, right now I want to be a homeowner, but I didn't even know this is out here.
Absolutely. And, you know, in regards to the no question, as Kevin mentioned, very rarely do I say no. What we do say is maybe not today, but maybe 6 months, maybe 12 months.
Not yet. That's
absolutely.
No,
maybe we can entertain a possible co-borrower, right? Maybe we can switch the geographical area. If you're looking in Lower Westchester, maybe we can pivot to some areas in Northern Westchester or Connecticut. I'm licensed in 11 states. So I don't really believe in no. Like what I really try to do is just be more of a resource to be able to take a community that's been marginalized for hundreds of years, given inferior products, and put a slew of opportunities on the table so that we can dispel the misnomers that I need a 780 credit score or I need 20%. No, you do not. We can purchase with sometimes no money down. We have 2 programs where you can do 100% financing. As Mandeep mentioned, we can offer down payment assistance, closing cost assistance. We can help you build your credit to put you in position so if you're not ready to purchase today, then maybe 6 months down the line. So I think as a team, what we try to do is we realize that that individual may know 10, 20 other people that we may never know. If we can provide them with the highest level of service today, help them transition from renting to owning and create generational wealth, well, that satisfied client will present us with 15 or 20 other clients that are curious and, you know, hungry to transform their quality of life. And that's what we do well as a team.
Yeah. Where do people get hung up the most?
Not being honest. It sounds so silly to say because it doesn't really apply in real estate, but it applies a lot to what we do. Meaning whether you have the assets, what you're actually looking for. People get hung up on that a lot. I will have people who will sit there and say, yeah, I just deposited X number of dollars cash into my bank account, even though I know they spoke to Corey before and they'd said, don't do that. What I say to them is, I'm your attorney. Be 100% honest with me about everything that you want, and we will find a solution. Right. So that's the problem we hit into a lot more. It's not about the buying and selling part of it, because for any attorney that's doing it, that's black and white. You know what you're buying, you know the price, you know what it is. It always ends up being the relationships that you are having with your client. we joke all the time that we end up being their therapist more than half of the time. What's going on? Whether you're getting a divorce, whether there's other personal issues going on that you don't want other people to know, and how we can navigate you through that.
Yeah. Kevin, as we sit here talking, it's great to have a team of people, right? Because this is really what it needs to get across the finish line.
Absolutely.
Highlight for me the importance of that, right? That having that right team, because sometimes if this team isn't in place, it's hell for somebody trying to get across that line.
Right. Just like I learned in life, right? If you don't have the right support system and the right team, anybody you can go to and tell the truth to, someone who can go over your numbers, know your credit, know what you're making, right? It's a relationship. It's all about what we talked about before, choices and communication, right? The choice of working with us, of me and my team, is the communication that we're going to do amongst each other, right? The biggest thing I tell my clients is, I can pick up the phone and call Corey on a Saturday afternoon and say, help. I can call Mandeep on a Sunday and say, help. This is the scenario we have in front of us. How do we help this client get to the finish line? And it's all about having that right team to have your back.
Yeah. So for people who are out here right now and saying, listen, you know what, I'm thinking about ownership, want to do ownership. It's been a goal, but now I want to make it a reality. Talk to them about first steps. What do they do?
Have the conversation. Call me, contact me, and let's see, as both of my great partners mentioned, there's different steps we could take, right? Even if it's not, one thing people is they watch TV and they see these gorgeous homes on TV. I love them too, right? I love watching it, and I wish I could afford that right now. But I've had conversations. One of my greatest stories is I had a conversation with a single mother who had a conversation with me and said, Kevin, I don't know what I want to, you helped me rent 10 years ago. I feel bad for you to help me get a 2-bedroom apartment now. I started with a 1-bedroom. What can I do? And I heard her out. I heard her scenario. I heard some of her finances, and I said, you know what? I think you need to have a conversation with Corey. She said, no. Long story short, she spoke to Corey. We changed her geographical area, right? She's now in Connecticut, and we got her to the finish line.
Wow. And that's what it's about.
Absolutely.
It's a great feeling.
Beautiful feeling.
Yeah. So, as we think about this here, what's the best time of year to really go after real estate? Is now the good time? I mean, y'all are laughing. Y'all know something I don't know.
I get that question all the time. It's what's the right time for you, right? It's not. Some people say, well, summertime is more competition. I'm going to wait for the winter, right? Guess what? Call me in the winter and the summer. I'm going to help you if it's the right time for you. If you feel that you have things together, contact me and let's figure it out. Because we might start the process now. We might not get you to the finish line till another season.
Right.
It might be 3 or 4 months. So it's all about have the conversation.
But when we talk about prices, fluctuating, we know that housing prices fluctuate. Is it a better time of year to wait in regards to that?
So what I'll say to that is having the right advocate on your side. Me as your realtor, it's my job to figure it out no matter what it is, right? I know some people say, well, oh, Kevin, you're never going to talk bad about the market because it's going to go up and down. But more importantly, let me have the conversation with the realtor on the other side to figure out what's best, right? Because they might be looking for too much and they're not getting it. That's why everyone say, well, it's been on the market 60 days. Let me offer them half of what they want. No, right? This is their biggest asset. As Corey said, this is their biggest asset that they're going to walk away with. Think about that. If that's your biggest asset, are you just going to let it go for half price? No, but there's a way that we can negotiate and get it for what's best for both sides.
Mandeep, you talked a little earlier about the roller coaster ride, up, down, up, down. Have things kind of like leveled out since COVID?
No. I would say it took a dip about a year or so ago when the rates went up. It definitely did. It affected our business. People were very scared as the rates went up, like what's going to happen? Are we going to see the market going towards a crash? But the reality is there just weren't and still aren't enough houses. So the reason it started to bounce back is because people got used to it. Okay, so if my rates are going to be in the 7 and I need to put my kid into a school that's in a different district, I'm not going to wait 6 months, a year to see whether I could still afford that house. I'm going to do it now. A lot of the clients that I have helped in the last year or so have already had conversations. I don't care if it's a higher rate. I need to get out from where I am, and I'll refinance in another 2 years or 3 years once the market starts to level out. Like I said, there's other options. So it did slow down, and now it's picking back up.
Right. We always mess up on the paperwork. What kind of paperwork should a person have as they get ready to come to you?
You know, as Kevin mentioned, every scenario is different. You know, we have salaried individuals, we have self-employed individuals, we have loan products where we can circumvent income reviews in its entirety. So really it starts with a conversation, right? First, you know, I'm gonna ask some pointed questions like, what is your occupation? If you're salaried, I typically will ask for pay stubs for the last 30 days, W-2s for the last 2 years. If you're self-employed, I'll request tax returns for the last 2 years. You may be self-employed, you may be this high-powered attorney, maybe your CPA is expensing out the majority of your income. Maybe we have to entertain a bank statement only loan, right? So, you know, the environment that we're in now is such a cool environment because we have a variety of different options to meet each and everyone's individual needs. And, you know, I wanted to speak to the question that you asked kind of both my colleagues here in regards to the timing. I think Kevin said it well, right? It really is about your timing. But when you think about the real estate market, our market, so real estate has outpaced the S&P 500, the Dow, and the NASDAQ in terms of being a high-performing asset class. So, you know, when you think about the tax benefits of home ownership, when you think about how individuals are leveraging multifamily housing to reduce their tax liabilities, I don't think you can afford to wait. As Mandeep said, I think if you're renting now and you're paying between $2,000 to $4,000 to $5,000 a month, well, we really need to have a serious conversation to transition you into ownership. So now you have some tax benefits. We can leverage that to possibly build your portfolio. So if you have a primary residence, we should be talking about a second home on investment property to bring in true generational wealth. So I don't think you can afford to wait. I think the conversation is now.
All right. It's been great talking to you guys. Got to come back, ladies, gentlemen.
I'm ready.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Well,
Thank
I
you for
appreciate
having
you.
us.
No, I think it's very pointed because when we talk about home ownership and the housing crisis, something so many people deal with here in New York City. We're in the middle of a housing crisis, but how to navigate that, what to know, having that armed information really makes a difference. So thank you all for joining.
Appreciate it.
Happy
you.
birthday again, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate
All right.
it.
Listen, I want to let you know we come to the end of the show today. Hope you enjoyed this week's discussion on the Bronx Social Justice Forum, and I want to let you know if you want to rewatch this week's edition, catch the Recablecast right here on BronxNet.org. If you want to join the conversation and present your point of view, visit us on social media at BronxNet TV. Join us next week. We continue to elevate the discussion and bring further awareness on the issues that matter across the globe. I'm Daren Jaime saying take care. God bless.